Here is a quick tutorial on how to replace a radiator in a 2014 Volkswagen CC. First, you're going to take off the T25 bolts that hold your filter cover on, and you're going to disconnect your manifold pressure, and you're also going to remove this, or move this clamp over that holds your filter cover onto the intake tube. Next up, you're going to remove this box, which is held in by two T25 screws that mount here and here. Next, you're going to remove this tube by pressing in on these two detents on either side, and this whole thing just slips out. And after you get the intake off, you're going to take off this splash shield down here, which is held on with a bunch of T27 screws, so that you can get to the lower radiator hose, which I haven't done yet. And the next thing is going to be to take off the fan shroud here, which is going to be for, I believe, T30s. There's going to be two on this side, two on this side and two on this side, top and bottom. All right, while you're under here taking off this last Torx bolt, you want to go ahead and remove this plug here for the fan. You're going to need to push back this black, or this red tab right here, and then you're going to lift up on the inside of this plug and pull it back. So after you take that last bolt out up here, then you want to slide the fan down. You're going to want to pull it this way because the radiator hoses are right here, and you're going to want to wiggle them through the AC lines on this side, but you got to be careful right here. You just kind of want to pull this back a little bit so you have enough room to slide it through there. And then if you look down in here, we've got the lower radiator hose down here, and this is what you're going to have to loosen right here. This clip, you're going to have to lift it up and pull this back to drain the coolant, because there is no petcock on these radiators, because that, Volkswagen decided that we didn't need them for some reason. So once you've got that drained, you're going to pull this back. Probably ought to disconnect that sensor just to make sure that it doesn't get broken while you're jostling around. So you're going to want to go ahead and just push the tab in here and lift it up. Comes off really easy, and go and just tuck it out of the way. And don't forget to put that back on, because that's going to be your coolant temp sensor. It's probably a radiator outlet temperature. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's a sensor. Yeah, right there. So I don't know what it is because I haven't had to replace it yet. But anyways, yeah, so you're going to pull this clip, pull your radiator hose back. It's got a O-ring inside of it, so you want to be careful. You're going to want to kind of shimmy it back. Don't use anything big to pry in there, because you might crack the hose, and then you got to replace the whole thing, and you don't want to do that because that sucks. And then up here, same old song and dance. You're just gonna pry up this clip here and kind of shimmy the thing off. There probably won't be any coolant coming out of this. If you're replacing the radiator like I am, because there's a hole down there somewhere that's drained all your coolant for you, then you really don't have to worry about it. But I'm hoping I can get this out without taking the grill off, but you'll be the first to know if I can do that or not. So after you've haphazardly placed your drain pan, you're going to come in here with a hook tool like this. Works pretty good for these. You can use flathead screwdrivers or what have you, but you want it just come up and stop. Once it stops, don't pull anymore. These can come off, and they're pretty easy to put back on, but if you don't got to do it, why do it? You know what I mean? So when you pull this off, it's going to spray forward, and it's going to spray that way, and it's going to spray, that way, and it's going to spray that way. So the drain pan is kind of just a suggestion at this point. It's like, please hit the pan, but if you don't, I'm not going to judge you too much. Probably help to have a large piece of cardboard just under the whole area, because you are going to spill coolant in this. There's really no avoiding it. I've got my flashlight poorly set up here. Let me move that. Alright, so this is the hose here. Pry your clip up, and you're gonna just shimmy it back and forth. It really doesn't matter if you break the end of the radiator off, because honestly at this point it's already broken and you wouldn't be watching this if you didn't need to replace it. So I'm gonna go against my own rule here and introduce a small prying device just so I can hurry this along here, because I really don't have that much time. You just want to pull it back nice and slow. Oh crap. You want to make sure your coolant reservoir cap is on for this. You don't want to give it all of the freedom, you know, to just spray wherever it wants. No shit like that. Actually, this is fine. It's all going in the pan. That is way better than I could have hoped for, honestly. So I'm going to let this go for a minute. Sorry, I'm so out of breath. I just worked a full freaking 8-hour day. Okay, don't judge me. We're going to let that simmer for a bit. And then, once it stops, we're going to pull the hose all the way off and see if we can get any more out that way. And then once we've done that, then we are going to open up the reservoir cap, because that'll release the Kraken, as they say. Okay, so we've got a steady dribble now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull that all the way off and just kind of lay it on the hose below it. That's going to let some more out. And now that we've got it under somewhat control, I'm going to remove the reservoir cap. And that really didn't do anything, so I'm just a big old fat liar. I haven't done this before, so I'm kind of making a tutorial like a as I go kind of thing. Just because I needed to do this, but I also kind of wanted to make a tutorial for, you know, people like me that couldn't find shit about this online. So here we go. We're just going to let that drain for a bit. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, but I think it's pretty much done at this point. And then up here on our upper radiator cap, we're going to do the same thing. You get your hook tool and just pull up. Ooh, and definitely just send it flying up into your engine cover. That's fine. This will go back on there, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to leave it on the air filter cover so that I can leave it there and forget about it. And then it'll go into the engine probably. So once you get that off, you know, same drill. You're just going to wiggle this off, gently pry with a, you know, pry bar if you have to, but probably recommend it if you don't. Okay, there we go. Got the old cap, or the upper radiator hose off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for something that I apparently threw away. Give me a sec. So while you got that draining and you got some time to think about your life choices, you want to come over here, and on your new radiator, you're probably going to have these rubber caps. Now these rubber caps, seeing as how they're specifically designed to go on this radiator, come over here and you can just go ahead and cap this bad boy off, so that even though it's not done draining, you can just cap it. Wowee. Anyways, now we're going to go ahead and find the 4 T30 bolts that are holding this on. I assume they're T30s, but I don't know. They might be bigger. Hold please and let me find out what they are. If you can see that right there, that is going to be the 4th screw of the radiator. The 3rd one is going to be right here, kind of in between the 2 radiator outlets. And then you're going to have one here up at the top, obviously, which I'm leaving on because that's going to be the last one I do. And then the other one is down there. Can't really see it, but it's right behind the, oh, there it is. It's right behind the AC line. You got to have kind of a fun extension set up to reach that one, but once you've got those 4 bolts out, you can just hopefully, I mean, I'll let you know if it's possible, but hopefully you can just finagle this radiator right on out of here, but I guess we'll find out. Well, I just got the radiator separated from the condenser here, but I want you to look all the way down there. That is all like dead leaves, dead bugs, just all the crap that's gotten trapped in there over time. Absolutely fucking disgusting. I'm obviously going to clean this out, but I just wanted to show you before I got too far, but holy crap. As you can see here, and by that pile of disgusting crap on the floor, I got the radiator out. And you can see on here, right about where it's been leaking. Right around, you know, this area. Just gross. Absolutely filthy. Disgusting. Maybe radiators ought to be considered a maintenance item, because if all that crap collects on there, good lord. Oh, I didn't say earlier, but this top piece I had to take off to be able to kind of shimmy it back, and once I got it disconnected from the top one, then I had to get it disconnected from the bottom one, and to do that I just pulled really hard. Hopefully I didn't break anything. I don't know exactly if there's this thing down here. Not sure if that goes on the radiator or not. It looks like it clips onto the condenser, and it just kind of fills the space in between the radiator and, oh god, horrible. Fills the space between the radiator and the condenser. Sorry, I'm having a freaking existential crisis over all these dead bugs and beetles and crap in here. Oh, look at this thing. It's shiny. It's also from Amazon. This is the DNA motoring radiator. I don't know the part number because I threw away the box already, but I'll put it in the description if I can remember it. I don't get commission off of anything. I'm just a helpful guy. I'll be right back. I gotta go wash my hands and get all this freaking... By the way, this car has 170,000 miles, so don't go thinking that radiators on these pop all the time. This is definitely the original radiator of this car, and I'm not disappointed at all by how long it lasted and then before it finally gave out. But it only gave out because frickin' Wichita decides it wants to go 100 degrees, 60 degrees, 100 degrees, 40 degrees, and then back to like 90. So I don't blame it. It's old. It's been through some shit, you know. So that's definitely the original radiator. But anyways, I digress. After I go to the bathroom and wash all my shame off, I will be back to put the new radiator down in its spot, get a couple of screws tacked on, put that cover shield back on, and begin the reassembly process of everything that I just undid. So essentially what you missed was I had a piece of tissue shoved into the Torx bit that was shoved into the screw, because this one down here you can't see. So it gives it just enough traction so it won't fall off if you point it, you know, downwards. And you can kind of fish it into that one down there. You don't want to get into this because it's been leaking coolant everywhere. That shit's covered, and you don't want to get that stuff in your eye. So do it from up here. You know, there's more than enough room. My hands are huge, and they fit in here just fine. So you can do it. I believe in you. So now, I may have made a mistake by waiting, but I'm going to go ahead and put this top cover on. Alright, went ahead and got this plastic thing just set on here. This radiator does not have the knurled edge that this would have been on, like the other radiator did, but honestly there's a bunch of intake stuff that sits in between here. It's not going anywhere. I may throw some tape on it, but I'm really not all that worried about it. So I went ahead and plugged our bottom radiator hose back in, pushed the clip down, and you want to give it a nice tug test, make sure it's not going to pull off. And I went ahead and put the clip back on this and cinched that one on, put the clip on. Now's a good time to remember to plug your coolant sensor back in And now we could put the whatchamacallit, the fan on, but I want to do a fill test where I basically fill it with coolant, and I want to see if anything's leaking out, and I want to be able to see the radiator when I do that, because this probably came from China and it may or may not have a hole in it, and I don't want to put it all back together just to find out it's leaking. So let's go ahead and get the funnel out and we'll fill it through the bottle. Okay, we are ready to go ahead and start refilling. So officially this car holds 8.5 quarts of this well, it's supposed to have, I think it's G20 coolant, don't quote me on this. Oh, G12, sorry. But I have G40, so I'm going to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up, and we're not going to start it to burp it just yet. I'm just putting capacity in there to make sure that there's no obvious leaks, either coming from the radiator hose connections or from the radiator itself. And it's kind of looking like that's going to be an issue because it's not taking coolant. Why is that? I probably need to burp the radiator hoses a little bit. But anyways, I'll be back when I've been able to put coolant in. Okay, I think I've done enough burping that I can do that I'm pretty satisfied. I've got coolant here. I've got coolant at the upper radiator hose by basically just squeezing the lower radiator hose. Sometimes with both hands you want to get a lot of the fluid moving, and you can hear it kind of sloshing through the block and everything. And I like to leave my reservoir a little bit more full than it should be, just because I know once I get this started up and running, and actually once I get it back down on the ground, because it's still on jack stands, once I get everything leveled out, let it warm up, let the pump run, thermostat open, all that kind of stuff, it'll push more air out and it'll suck more of the coolant in. And I'll be keeping an eye on that, obviously. But next up, I'm going to be reinstalling my radiator fans and my splash shield on the bottom. I am going to go ahead and rinse that off first, get all the coolant off of it so that when I reinstall it, I'll know if it's actually leaking. And once all the bleeding procedure is done, then I'll go ahead and reinstall my intake tubes. Just put everything back together the way it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. So here I've got the engine running. I got the intake put back together. I got the fan plugged back in. Just kind of running a little shakedown on it right now, waiting for the thermostat to open. And once I get the thermostat open, then I'll be able to see, I should be able to see coolant moving a lot more, and hopefully get the rest of the bubbles out. And after that, put that clamp on before I forget, put the rest of this intake on, and hopefully that'll be done on this project. So far, nothing leaking out, so cross my fingers that that's fixed at least. It definitely was the radiator. I mean, that's no question whatsoever, but I get nervous about doing coolant related things on these cars. I had a bunch of problems with my BMW and my Jeep and my Audi, so just trying not to continue the tradition too much here and just have a nice, easy, radiator replacement. At the end of this, if there's still a bunch left over, I might leave it a little bit above max, just so if there's any bubbles that come up overnight, then it'll be able to suck some down. But yeah, I'm gonna let this run. I'll let you guys know when the thermostat opens, which should be fairly soon. We're getting pretty close to pretty close to operating temperature there. Okay, the car, last I checked, was about 190-ish on the gauge, so fan should be turning on anytime here. Hopefully soon, because it's starting to concern me slightly. I mean, if the ECU is seeing it, that's pretty much the whole car knowing what the temperature is. It's not like there's a separate little thermistor somewhere. At least I hope not. I don't actually know. But as you can see, we're sitting, well, from this angle it looks like we're above 190, but sitting right about 190. That fan should be kicking on anytime now. Anytime now would be nice. Please and thank. No? Do I need to shut down and restart? I might shut down and restart, because I had started it before I installed the fan, so I had a code for the fan, so let me restart it real quick, see what that does. I am going to go ahead and sign off this video saying that this was a successful repair. Very happy. It was supremely easy. I thought I was going to have to take the whole front end apart, which I was not looking forward to. Removing the bumper and the radiator cover and a bunch of other stuff, but really all I had to take off was like the intake, radiator fan, and then the two radiator hoses that connect with like quick disconnect clips, which is phenomenal. Dare I say, one of the easier cooling systems I've worked on. Now, I haven't gotten into the thermostat, plastics, the water pump, any of that, which is monstrously difficult, but as far as radiators go, but anyways, yeah, I'm going to commit to signing off because I know I can ramble on. So yeah, 2014 Volkswagen CC probably applies to 2009 to whenever they stopped making them. I think 2016 CCs are probably all the same, as long as they all use the TSI engine and they all have just the two ports on the radiator. I think there's a California model that has like a sensor on it, but even that's just a sensor, right? So yeah, I'm gonna call it there. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Bonus footage. Here I am at home. Wanted to check and make sure our plastic piece did end up falling off, so that sucks, but whatever. It was just kind of to control airflow around the radiator, which I'm not super worried about. I've got it in the trunk, I can put it back on, but I wanted to look at the level. Looks like we dropped a tad, but not much, so that's good. Radiator's fine. Don't see any extra leaks that shouldn't be there. All the intake stuff is still together. Looks like a successful repair. Bonus footage. Here I am at home. Wanted to check and make sure our plastic piece did end up falling off, so that sucks, but whatever. It was just kind of to control airflow around the radiator, which I'm not super worried about. I've got it in the trunk, I can put it back on, but I wanted to look at the level. Looks like we dropped a tad, but not much, so that's good. Radiator's fine. Don't see any extra leaks that shouldn't be there. All the intake stuff is still together. Looks like a successful repair.